Richard Dawkins is one of Britain's most controversial public figures, the brilliant geneticist who became more widely known for being an evangelist for atheism. Well, this week he stands down as Oxford University's Professor for the Public Understanding of Science and may be turning his fire from God to Harry Potter, as he tells Rags Martell in his valedictory interview.
For the last 12 years, Richard Dawkins has been Professor of Science and Understanding at Oxford. Last night he gave his final lecture before retiring.
So they had this man.
This morning, on his first day of retirement, he spoke to Move4 News and looked back on more than a decade as a champion of scientific rationalism.
I haven't done the research to discover how public understanding of science has changed during that time. The surveys that have been done over the years have been pretty discouraging. I mean, things like an awful lot of people don't realise why a year is a year. They don't realise it's the time taken by the Earth to orbit the Sun. My intuitive feeling is that people are very keen on science still, they're very interested in science. There's a certain amount of hostility to science, which is obviously regrettable.
Do you think you've failed in any sense?
I don't think I've failed, but I'm only one, and I think that scientists generally have a responsibility to come out and talk about what they do and try to make it understandable to everybody.
Richard Dawkins first came to prominence in the 1970s with his first bestseller, The Selfish Gene. Since then, he's become one of Britain's most famous academics. His most recent book, The God Delusion, confirmed his status as the country's most vocal atheist.
I think The God Delusion is actually rather a funny book. It's intended to be funny, and I think we get a lot of laughs when Lala Ward, my wife, and I do public readings of it. We get a lot of laughs, and many of the laughs come from the bits that are often described as strident and shrill. It's not a strident and shrill book, it's a humorous book.
This is perhaps the most important memory I've collected. I'd like you to see it.
And after tackling God, he's now going to take on Harry Potter. In his retirement, he's planning to become a children's author.
I have got a plan to write a children's book on how to think about the world, the universe, science, critical thinking, contrasted with mythical thinking. I don't know what to think about magic and fairy tales. I would like to know whether there's any evidence that bringing children up to believe in spells and wizards and magic wands and things turning into other things, it is unscientific. I think it's anti-scientific. Whether that has a pernicious effect, I don't know.
And like his adult books, he hopes to dispel religious myths and ask children to look for scientific explanations instead.
I plan to look at mythical accounts of various things and also the scientific account of the same thing. And the mythical accounts that I will look at will be several different myths, of which the Judeo-Christian one will just be one of many. And the scientific one will be substantiated by appeals to the children to think for themselves, to look at the evidence, always look at the evidence.
I mean, some would say that's really, you're taking the magic out of childhood, you know, to stop it.
Because there's so much magic in science.
It may be the beginning of Richard Dawkins' retirement, but he says he'll remain an active fellow of New College in Oxford.
Thank you very much.